you, Bob, for stopping by this morning. I used to listen to that song back in the 60s, early 70s, and I said, boy, this guy's got a horrible voice, but boy, don't his words have meaning. So we are maybe back in that kind of place again today. Things are hard. People are stressed. People are looking to find answers. And yes, we're existing in divine doubt. Thank you, Joan, for leading us through a process or a plan to get to those answers and recognize that we are one and have tools to get there. So we thought that we would, instead of preaching, have a discussion this morning. And part of the reason is more than 50 years ago, more than some of you are old, I went to a Methodist college and we were required to attend chapel. Sunday night, we sat in chapel, like it or not. And you were allowed, I think, 2 absences for the whole semester, so most of us showed up. But I still remember, obviously made an impression on me, one of the visiting ministers who talked about a sermon. You know the definition of a sermon, folks? Definition of a sermon is it's like a Texas Longhorn. Yeah, 2 points with a lot of bull in between. So we're going to try to resist handing out the bull this morning. We're going to tell truths about ourselves and our experiences and our traditions and our backgrounds. So my background is that I was born in the Commonwealth of Maryland and 6 months later moved. Now, I don't remember anything about the Commonwealth of Maryland when I lived there at 6 months old, but I am loyal. Yes, I support the Baltimore Orioles and anything else that comes out of Maryland. So at 6 months old, we moved to a farm in Rhode Island. And let me say, the largest Christian church in that town happened to be Seventh-day Adventist. Well, my dad was brought up Assyrian Orthodox. My mother was brought up Catholic. So they didn't know what to do. They weren't going to go to that Christian church. They knew nothing about services on Saturday, and apparently it mattered. Who knew? So we went to a Baptist church. So my first experience was Sunday school in the Baptist church. But we moved around a bit. So the next place we landed was the state of Connecticut. And my dad liked the minister at the Congregational church. So for the next 4 or 5 years, I went to a Congregational church. And then we moved again. And that experience started out in the Presbyterian church. And then my mother and my brother decided they didn't like that church. So they went to a different Presbyterian church. But I stayed there for a while longer because they had something akin to Girl Scouts called the Pioneer Girls. So I continued to go with my neighbor to that church for a while. And then about the time I was a young teenager, maybe 12, 13, I started being an avid reader. And one of the books I still remember the title of is Religions of the World. I even remember the author. So because of that, I decided I want to know what these other people believed. What did they practice? What were they about? Well, God bless my dad, because he was always up for experimentation and learning. So he said, I'll take you. So among the many churches we went to, about once a month we did our little visit the church number, was Christian Science. Do I remember anything other than it was a Christian Science church? No, not really. But we went all around various different churches. Some of them were very kind of towards what my parents had been brought up in, kind of very traditional with priests and so forth. and others were really kind of out there. I'm sure we went to an ethical culture society and various ones, but it was a lovely journey, a journey to really see what people believed and did they practice what they believed. Sorry, most of the people went to those churches had no idea what their dogma was. And did it make a difference in what I eventually ended up? No, just that it was an opportunity for me to explore, for me to hear and know for myself, because that's always, I'm from Missouri as well as Maryland, right? Gotta do it for myself. So that's my thing. And many years later, I got very involved in studying mental health because I had a mom that had some issues. So some of that led me to different places. Always looking for answers, always looking to know more, always looking to explore. So along the way, I met a lot of very interesting people, very supportive people who believed in a lot of different things and fed my mind as well as my soul. So one of my ended up being one of my dear friends, Betty, taught me in my early adult years to be the best me I could be. And I found throughout my many jobs that that's what I was after. I was after being of service, being present. And I've had people ask me about, oh, why did you become a practitioner? Were you out of sorts? No, I was not out of sorts. I was just doing more of what I'd already done, but in a different arena, if you will. So I personally think that we are here to be of service. We are here to be in oneness, if you will. We are here to listen to those we come in contact with, to hear their stories, to be witnesses. I recently went through a couple of years of always been close to this particular cousin, but just needed to be of support because she was taking care of her third or fourth family member that needed her. And I literally said to her, there's nothing I can do other than be a support and be a witness. And I really think that sums up what service is and what being in this lifetime is. To do the best we can do, to be a witness for others, and to process all of that with respect, with listening, with seeing, and with knowing. As we say in our welcome message, I see you, I know you, I love you. So one of my spiritual practices, since we went for our well, they call it a retreat. I'm not sure I'm going to call it a retreat. At the end of each year of the practical study for being a practitioner, people get together and we have a variety of experiences, including meeting some of the people who were top then in leadership at Science of Mind. So I always read Reverend Sorensen's daily message. And today I'm going to share that message in conclusion to my part of the talk because this is probably the most important thing for me in life. And he says very simply, gratitude is a powerful force for advancing unity. When we acknowledge others with sincerity, we strengthen the energy of appreciation and belonging. And you'll uplift them and you'll uplift you. And now I will turn it out turn it over with deep respect to my colleague, Reverend Joan.
Let's see, am I unmuted? Yes, I am. Good morning. My experience along this path. My family was Baptist. Everybody in my family was Baptist. And the second week of July, we always took a trip down to Virginia, back to Virginia, because that's where we came from. And we had what was known as revival. And revival was the whole week we would go to church and they would teach you and preach to you and tell you, come on in, the door is wide open. And at 12, you're supposed to go and sit at the front pew of the church and listen to the preaching and then make that decision that you're going to accept the service, God. You're going to accept being a Baptist, and then you will be baptized. Well, I turned 12. And it was my turn to sit on that front bench. And I didn't like some of the things that was going on in the church because you put your preacher on a pedestal. You put everyone on the pedestal in that church that can do no wrong. And then you see them doing wrong. And you see them doing the things that you were taught that was wrong. That, yeah, you want corn liquor, wait till the till the preacher stop preaching. And then in the back of the church, you can go buy some corn liquor from the preacher. You know, this one was with that one was this one. And I did not like that idea. I didn't want to be part of that. But I sat on that front bench with my cousin. And when he came down and said, do you accept him? Both of us said yes. And then you move to the side because the next night someone else is going to sit on that bench. And then we came back home. And I said to my grandmother, I don't. And I don't want to be part of that. And I don't know what that's about. And I was 12. So you can imagine any of you who grew up in a household of religion that you accepted. You didn't have an opinion at 12. You followed exactly what they told you to do. And surprising, my grandmother said, okay. And my mother said, okay. And my father said, okay. Looking back now, I think they thought I was going to come back, but they were giving me that opportunity to say, all right, get out there, find out there's nothing like us. Come on back. So I started experimenting, going to a Catholic church, going to a Jewish church, a synagogue, just going all over, practicing Voodooism, as they would say, uh, dipping a little here and a little there. But nothing really just caught me. So what I did, I took the best out of all the religions that I went to, all the faiths, and I call it faith instead of religions because religion is, to me, it's a beautiful thing, but you have to feel all of that within you, and faith is what keeps you going. So I took a little of the Catholic religion. I took a little of the Baptist religion. I took a little of the Buddhist, just everything that was coming at me, and I walked in the door. And I made my own religion. And I practiced what I put together. And I said, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. In the meantime, while all of that was going on, I was experiencing, going back to the Baptist word, hell. You know, I married, divorced, children, this, that, everything was just going downhill. But I accepted it. I didn't understand why at the time, but I accepted it. And I just said, this is just an experience. People would come to me, how can you be involved in domestic violence and beat up and go back and sit there and take it again? I didn't know why, but I accepted it. I accepted it until one day I walked out the door with the only clothes I had on my back. I left my children with my grandparents and my mother. I left all my pictures, all my thoughts, and I walked out that door because that was my time. I realize that now. All the things that I experienced led me up to that being my time to walk out the door and never look back. I heard in my head the callings. I felt alone, but I didn't look back. I got a job. I went to the Salvation Army so I can buy clothes to wear to the job. Nothing. I had nothing but me, but I kept on moving. And I doubted a lot of stuff. I doubted everything, but I kept on moving. I kept on experiencing, and I kept on listening to keep going, keep going. And I finally met a person on the job that said to me, I have a place for you. And it was religious science. I had never heard of that. So I was like, all right, I got to get dressed and I got to go. No, just come. Come as you are. You are welcome. Come as you are. Wear your uniform, wear your jeans, wear your thing, whatever. Don't worry about your hair, your this, your that. And I walked in the door and I realized all that I had experienced was to bring with me to this place and to let people know that you are not alone. You may think that what you're going through, you're only going through by yourself. And I said, okay, let me see what I can do. And I started going to school and became an interfaith minister. And that was the step. And I never left religious science. I never left science of mind because all was welcome here. And there was no title that you had to worry about bringing with you. And I'd say that to everyone. There's no title in here. Whatever you believe, whatever you want, however you want it, we are here with you and for you. So I call myself the life experience minister. There is nothing that you can say to me honestly, except for two things. I never did that. I never experienced that. I don't know what you're talking about. One of them is drugs. I was an alcoholic for a while and I didn't think that was a drug, but I had to experience that to experience me and experience my family. And I am so proud and glad to be here and to be able to hear and not criticize, not tell you what to do. I remember being told that someone said, when you leave someone, everybody comes to you and say, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And you know something? When you walk out that door, you have no idea. You don't know why, but you're taking a step forward. And Rockland CSL and my community and my family here, I'm still taking that step forward. I'm still learning. I'm still experiencing. And I am so glad because I know where I'm going. I know right now where I'm going. And with that, there's so much more. But with that, we are opening up the door to everyone to give us your experience, or give us your questions, or give us your ideas or your thoughts. And the first person that came to me was Miss Vivian Campbell with her ideas, her thoughts, and her experience. So, Miss Vivian, I'm going to let you be the first one in the door to let everyone know about who you are, how you got here, and what you have to pass on. Don't forget to unmute. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm listening and I'm hearing and I'm saying, oh my goodness, I was not the only one that was looking. I started in grammar school. They told me I'm a Catholic, and they told me my mother was not going to heaven. So get ready, you're not going to see her there. My mother was the nicest, warmest, giving person you could ever know. And so that took me out of Catholicism. And the idea was foreign. Now what do? I'm 8 years old. So I'm wandering. And I'm meeting people, I'm marrying people, and all of these people are giving me ideas about what God should do for me. And I said, I haven't found it. And then one lady said, come go with me. Science of mind. Mind? Science? Okay. Science. Science? Science is putting stuff together to make stuff happen. And I said, oh, okay. I'll give it a whirl. What can I lose at this point? Science of mind. The first thing I noticed was I didn't have to wear um, gloves, make sure my stockings were straight, high heel shoes, lipstick. I could go with my jeans. Oh, okay. I could do that. And then the thing that really struck me in the sermon was he says, you your original sin. I said, I went to Catholic church, and everybody has Catholic church, and everybody has original sins, and you got to be washed. I said, oh, I don't know about that. And he said, you are born perfect without original sin. There is no such thing as original sin. That was the beginning. And I have gone on forward since then. And I know people that are wonderful. I've seen people in the street that I know are wonderful. I've seen people in high places that are not wonderful. And so, science of mind is an answer for me. Try it. You won't be sorry. Jan, I have a question. What's the difference between a practitioner and a minister?
Okay, a practitioner studies for 2 years with CSL certified classes and a few, extras that you get to pick. And basically, the job of a practitioner is to hold the truth for the center. We sometimes specialize in different things. Some practitioners go on to become chaplains. Some practitioners serve with music. A number of the musicians who are known to CSL started by being practitioners and chose to put their energy into music. But basically, a practitioner is simply to hold the truth. We pray for people, we do sessions which take prayer to a different level. All practitioner sessions should start and end with prayer, but really we are specialists in prayer. Does that answer?
Yes, it helps. It helps. Reverend Joan, you mentioned gratitude, and I find that extremely, extremely important. And the minister that I was going to, he says, 10% is all you need. I said, 10%? And I said, well, suppose I only have $100. I can't give 10%. He says, try it. It works. It works. By this point in my life, it's been a lot. And I remember once when my children were infants and I didn't have enough money to pay for the cribs. And I said, ooh. And then when I went to the bank, and for some strange reason, there was money there to pay for the cribs. I don't know where it came from. And I still don't know. Now my children have children. 10% of what you make, regardless. If it's $100, 10. If it's $1, 10 cents. It all adds up. Reverend Joan, what did you have with money? That made you know the science of mind was a way to do.
Well, I'm going to answer that question right now in the present time, and then I'll go back. I was never taught about money. You get it and you spend it. You buy it. My grandmother used to, as again, going down south, there was a store on 125th Street off of Lenox Avenue called Lenore's. And she would go there and buy the store out so that we could look good when we went down to Virginia. I didn't know anything about credit. That was money. You went, you brought, you paid, and that's it, and you keep giving money every week. I just discovered right now the difference between a debit card and a credit card, because I honestly thought that credit card was a debit card, and I would just put the money and build it up and pay my bills, not knowing that month they was taking out like $100 and some dollars and $100 and some dollars here. But my experience with money, with science of mind, with religious science, with CSL, I was challenged 1 month to put 10% of my check, my money, into, to the church, and to the centers. And first question was, is that debt or gross? Which one do you want to take that money out of? Because I don't know which one you want, but I don't want to give you the whole thing. And they said 10%. And I was like, all right. I was working where my check was pretty comfortable, but I still spent every dollar out of it every week. 10% here. What am I going to do now? 10% here. What am I going to do now? I got everything that I was worried about when I never even thought about giving money. I never fell behind. I never looked back, because for some reason, and we know what that reason is now, I always had money. I always could take my kids where they wanted to go. I could always buy what I wanted to buy. Giving and receiving and looking and wondering. So my experience with money is that it will always be there for whatever you want or need. So that is it. That is right now. I'm learning. I'm going to always have money, but I'm learning now that that debit card is not a credit. That credit card is not a debit card. And I am 76 years old. And I'm just knowing that. So for those of you out there listening to us, pass it on. And when I said it to my kids who realized it when they were growing up, Ma, you ain't never taught us that. We had to learn it ourselves. So I'm glad they learned at a young age and not now. But that was the giving and the knowing and the blessings and the gratitude and having and not worrying. So I hope that answered your question and everyone else's. And I think we really, well, I'll talk about that a little later, but yes. And that's why we're here. That's why we have a community, which is unity together, showing us and helping us and letting us know this is right. And I'm going to ask someone else to let us know, where are you at right now? And what do you want to know about Rockland CSL and religious science of mind? It is open. You can take your mute off. Let us know when you want to speak or have something to say. And first hand went up was Caroline's. Okay, let us know where you are. Caroline, unmute. I guess Roxanne or Cheryl, they can unmute. Caroline, unmute, please. This is an open forum. Hello. Okay, I see her hand up. Is anyone else while she's figuring out? Ask us questions. That's what we're here for.
Hi there.
Okay, hi.
Hi. So for me, I'll just share a little bit about my background. I don't know if I have any questions about Rockland CSL right now, but my background was that I was born in England, and I was baptized Church of England. And I came over when I was 1 year old, and I went to a Lutheran church because my mom couldn't drive when she first got here at 40. So there was a Lutheran church down the road. So I went to a Lutheran church until really college, or maybe a little bit after college. And I went to a Catholic college, so I would go to some services there, but I wasn't Catholic. And a couple years after I had graduated college, I started going to a Protestant church in Massachusetts. So I was going there for 10 years. So I've had, some interesting background experiences. And my friend Eridania actually introduced me to Rockland CSL. And at the time, I wasn't going to a church. And what I really enjoyed about Rockland CSL was that it was just all encompassing. Like, everyone accepted everybody else. You could be coming from different religious backgrounds. And I also like the fact that it wasn't as much of a structure. I felt sometimes with the church that, like, we were preached down to. And so I would leave the service not always feeling so great. And at Rockland CSL, you always feel so much better when you leave the service. So that's a little bit about my background, but I don't have any current questions per se.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline.
Thank you.
I have a question for people in general.
Yes.
Where do you go when you're in doubt and have questions?
Good morning. Thank you for sharing, Caroline, Jan, Rev Joan, Miss Vivian. Where do I go when I have questions? Well, since Science of Mind and Rev Melissa and this congregation, I think I was going within before, but not trusting it in a way that I trust now. I would go to friends. I would seek out certain books, songs. However, now I fully go within because within is where the answers are. And I know the answers. Sometimes I may not be asking the right questions, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yes.
The thing about being a practitioner and these times we are in, which I referenced before, I don't think anybody needs to be reminded, whatever your beliefs are, we are under such stress that I think we don't come together enough in community. Um, One of the things I think, and I'm going to say this out directly, is that we experience as we age is that people think we know nothing. You know,
Mm.
I happen to know these other two ladies fairly well. We've had some really deep, meaningful conversations, most recently in terms of getting ready for today. And the thing that came up for us is really how do we show people this respect that no matter what you believe, no matter where you're coming from, this is a resource. Whether you call us Centers for Spiritual Living, religious science, science of mind, whatever labels you put on what Rockland CSL has, what I've discovered here is what somebody was just saying a moment ago. People with a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences, but coming together in community. And I mean, one of the things that is problematic for us right now is not enough people are showing up um, in person. People ask to come in person and then they don't come. Um, because we are by numbers a small center, we truly need people to show up more often if that's what you want. And we're trying a variety of ways to do this. We have this group that's been meeting about trying to find ways to get people more engaged. We do this thing we call Rooted
Okay.
Rockland on the. There's too many R's. Okay, and I did it. Rooted Rockland on the road. Okay, the first one was really successful. The next one hardly anybody came to. All right, what do you guys want? What would get you to come? We're going to have a picnic this summer. Not at somebody's house. We're going to go to one of the local state parks. There's a pool, there's a lake, there's opportunity to have a cookout. We'll feed you. My granddaughter suggested we have goodie bags, so don't be surprised if there's goodie bags there. How do we get you there? How do we get you more engaged? What are you needing? I mean, I guess we sent out a questionnaire and we got some responses, but probably from the people who always respond. What about the rest of everybody? Where are you? What you doing out there?
Can I jump in?
Absolutely.
I can only speak for myself. So here's a couple of things I've been personally thinking about. And I asked myself, like, who are you? Who are you? What has happened to you? Because I'm having thoughts and ideas that I never had before. And I remember going to church. So I did not grow up in church at all. But because I had a seeking spirit, I would visit churches, and my aunt was a Jehovah's Witness. I never resonated with that because they didn't sing. And I would go to Baptist churches and I love the singing, but I also, like Rev Joan and Miss Vivian, had issues with contradiction. So when I would hear pastors talk about growing the church and inviting younger people, because I was a younger person, I just didn't get it. And so now at Rockland CSL, I get it, and I'm like, we're like the aging community, and we've got to bring some new blood into this community. So I've been thinking about that. I don't have a solution as of yet, but once I get to thinking, it'll come. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, because Sekou and I live in the city and we're now non-driving people, which I love. When I drove and had a car, I mean, we'll travel, we'll go anywhere. So for us, that is it's a challenge. So I think a solution could be like with Rockland Rooted on the Road CSL, is if some quarters or some months it's closer to the city. Even Jersey City is closer for us. Let's see. But I think also creating activities around congregation, around services, so that it gives us kind of a layered reason to show up in person. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
solvable problem, right, Joan?
yeah. Part of that solvable problem is the RRRR will come and go and travel, because it's only 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And then we'll build it up from there. But we will come and go and travel if you say, I have 10, 15 people here that I would love to hear what you have to say. And we will find a way. And for those of you who live outside of everything, outside of New York, New Jersey, I'd like to call it a retreat and put together a vacation day and come to where you are. But we have to have the people here and where we're going to put together something so that it's feasible to really have almost a large congregation there, or people. Everyone knows. I threaten my family sometime when they have to come to church. You know, they did it to me, I do it to mine. But, you know, so yeah. If you can say your women's group at a place with 10 or 15 people that may want to hear what we have to say and what we have to do, and know that they're not put on a spot, or we're not challenging what they believe, give us a call. Let us know. And that's for everyone who's listening, because yeah, sometimes it's hard to get to a place. But I was told years ago that I was going to Jersey, and I said, I would really like to come and join some of your festivities, but you know, you're down here in Jersey and I got to find kids, somebody to do this or that. And I was told by the minister there, as they say in that movie, if you want it, you will come to it. Yeah. So everyone, not just Fee, I'm talking to everyone that I'm looking names and things. Think about that. Think about something that you're enjoying that you want someone else to know about. And then give Jan a call or me a call and let us know.
Yeah, I'm going to say something here, Joan. One of the things that I've thought about since we did the strategic planning thing is, where can we show up for other people in the community? Meaning, for us, we have a label, right? We're Rockland CSL, and that has certain things that go with it. In other words, there's a North Jersey section. There's other people. There are people in the city that have centers. You know, so we can't step on people's toes, but we can certainly have a one-time meeting in different places. And we can certainly work on that. But the other thing that I've thought of is how can we help our community? So here in Rockland, there's a route called 303, and I don't know if it belongs to the county, the state, or the town. It goes across two towns, so I assume it's probably either county or state. But there's a problem, and that problem was really dramatic this winter because we had snow like we haven't had in years. And there are businesses along there, as I said to somebody the other day. I'm sure that the local politicians invited those businesses at one point in time. But what they haven't done is insist that there's sidewalks. And a lot of these businesses have people who the lots are full, a lot of people drive, and then a lot of people come on buses. Now, those are usually the forgotten people, right? The ones that have to ride the local buses. I think we could do something to legislate for there to be sidewalks for those individuals at the very least. This is a major road, and in the middle of the snowstorms, people were walking in those roads. So, we can support their getting sidewalks, which would help the people who come on the buses. Um, Vivian, do you want to talk about your idea? Because I think that's a wonderful idea, what you have about trying to get different groups in your locality to come together. Yes, no?
I know we are at a time now that, Jan, I want to do, we've already talked about the conscious giving, but I do want to do our prayer for forgiving, and then we can continue because I don't know how long we're able to stay on Facebook, but with our people here right now. So, is that okay with everyone, or, I'm just jumping in here. So if it's okay, all right. We talked about the giving and the sharing and knowing that when you give, it comes back. Here at Rockland, we are looking for you to grow along with us. So we have 7:30 in the morning, every morning, our prosperity prayer, our prayer of prosperity affirmation. And if you, Cheryl, do you have it to put up right now or no? Well, just repeat after me if you don't. Okay? Take a breath, sit back, throw your shoulders back, and know right now I am putting money in your pocket. You are getting that flow, that money that is there for us, for Rockland CSL, and for you. Repeat. Divine substance appropriately manifests as Rockland CSL and me here and now. And I always say it the second time because the first time is just words and we're trying to get through it and get to do what we have to do. So deep breath, shoulders back, heart open, hands up. Divine substance appropriately manifests as Rockland CSL and me here and now. And now we are one, and it is so, and so it is. Thank you.